Hello, everybody, and welcome to the basement. We are the boys, specifically the basement boys. And happy Cinco de Mayo to all of you out there. We are going to be
Happy Cinco de
celebrating
Mayo.
in the only way how. Let's do it.
It's by drinking.
Ugh. I never drink anymore. That was terrible.
Yeah, well, you know what? Fuck it. Cinco de
Ugh,
Mayo.
I poured myself such a big shot, too.
Dude, that's how we do it.
I'm a lightweight now, guys, so you might get a little bit buzzed Chris for this episode. All right, but all jokes aside, let's start it off kind of on a serious note. Rest in peace to Don Shula, the GOAT of coaches. 328 wins in his career, the most winningest coach of all time. He's still 55 wins before Belichick. So even Belichick has a way to go, and I think he turned 70 this year, so
something like that.
And
also, don't forget, Don Shula, only coach to have an undefeated championship run to the 1972 Miami Dolphins.
Even though it's the Dolphins, I have to respect Don Shula. And
I think, real. I was gonna say, like, after he left, they kind of tanked. Not tanked, but they kind of fell off pretty hard.
And as a Jet fan, that's good for me. But the thing I like about Shula, and the thing I think that really separates him as the best coach of all time, except for maybe Belichick, but the reason I think his winningest record is worth more, I guess, is at least he didn't have any type of scandal or anything to draw away from it, where Belichick has, like, you have that, you can, if you wanted to detract from Belichick, if you wanted to, like, make a narrative to discount what he's done, it's, you can bring up these cheating scandals, you know what I mean? Don Shula doesn't really have that.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing about him being the winningest coach that really just separates from the other coaches who are also great.
Yeah.
And just rest in peace to that guy. Even as a Jet fan, you just can't do anything but admit he was one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah. I mean, as a football fan, you got to respect that, you know. And like you said, you hit the nail on the head. Pretty sure no scandals. Came in, worked hard, got his team to perform well, and got them 2 Super Bowls. So our condolences go out to Shula and his family.
Yes, definitely. Our thoughts are with his whole family and the Miami Dolphins organization. Like, we really lost a great one. But going from one GOAT to the next GOAT, I think it's official. I don't give a fuck. Fuck Tom Brady. Alex Smith is the fucking GOAT.
Yes, he is.
After you watch that documentary and see all he's dealt with.
And his leg.
Like, I have nothing but respect for that man. The fact that he's even able to walk right now is incredible.
Dude, the man literally got knocked down. Got right back up. Got knocked down a whole bunch in his first few years in the league. Then teams up with Jim Harbaugh, leads his 49ers to a great Harbaugh. I'm sorry. Leads the 49ers to, like, great position. Unfortunately, gets a concussion that knocks him out, and Kaepernick does what you got to do. And when you're given that opportunity, you got to take it. Goes to KC, has a great resurgence of a career, and then they draft Pat Mahomes. And after, like, a few years, they're like, "Yo, we got to play Pat," you know.
And when that move happened, every single person I know was just like, what the fuck are they thinking?
Guilty.
This better, same with me. This better work out for them, because Alex Smith had an MVP like year.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't win MVP, but there are plenty of other years where they could have had where he would have been the MVP.
Yep.
He just happened to be in a year where someone else also went off.
And he put the Chiefs in prime position to succeed. He was a perfect game manager. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he didn't turn the ball over very much. And yeah, he might not wow you with these trick plays, but he's going to manage the game and put them in positions to win.
And his just obsession with being perfect, it really shows, because he might not have had the arm strength or the athleticism, or even though he was very athletic himself, but Pat Mahomes is a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
He was just dead-eye accurate with everything.
Yep.
And the fact that he's even still kind of holding on hope on playing football again, and he's able to do that, is just a testament to the doctors that he's worked with.
I mean, technically, he's still on the Redskins roster. He hasn't officially been released or retired, so whenever football starts up again, like, he could be in training camp.
I'm not sure about this year after everything I just watched.
He shouldn't. Like,
I think if it's going to happen, and that's a very big if, because just the fact that he could, after you watch this documentary, just the fact that he can walk is a miracle.
Yeah.
And I'm like not a religious guy, but that's just like one of those things where it's like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you see the pictures of his leg when it's infected, let alone after they scraped it all and there is no front half of his leg whatsoever.
You're not supposed to see human bone when you cut something open. We saw human bone. Like holy moly.
It was so cut back that it literally, like, it looked like they just like cut like from his knee down around his tibia, one of those.
Tibia.
Yeah. One of the bones. Just cut around it and just straight up removed the whole front part of his leg.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's absolutely incredible. I have nothing but respect for the man. And I will never not be rooting for Alex Smith. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not? Everyone loves, like, a feel-good story. And honestly, I feel like he might be the ultimate feel-good story. To come back from when the cards are stacked against him, to have the career that he did, and then even the fact that, like you said, he's able to walk again and run around with his kids. And
that was so nice to see at the end.
Yeah, like, he's living a normal life, so to say.
As normal as he could, anyway, right. with everything that's happened to him.
Right.
But I was thinking about this, just hearing like what they were talking about. I was thinking about this during the documentary, and it's definitely a sad thing to say, but I think it's worth the thought, I guess. And I want to preference this with saying, I don't think it's because of skill. I think he was a very skilled quarterback. He was coming into his own. He was really figuring out how he could play in the NFL and how he can do it right.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think you can classify Alex Smith as a bust? Not through fault of his own, but from the 49ers, got injured, found someone better, got replaced. Kansas City didn't get injured, was playing well, but they knew they had the guy in Pat Mahomes. So they got rid of him. Goes to the Redskins, has a few good, like, some success, but then gets injured, have to go with Dwayne Haskins. Would you consider Alex Smith a bust? And again, it's not because of Alex Smith's skill. He was very much coming into his own to, at the very least, be a very serviceable quarterback.
I think the fact that he was taken number 1 overall, he's a bust. But if he wasn't a top 10 quarterback drafted in 2005, I would think that he would be a success.
Yeah, if he was a second or third rounder or something like that, like, what more can you ask from the guy?
Right.
And again, I'm not saying Alex Smith is a bad player.
No, not at all.
He had some great seasons when he was healthy. He just got hit with a string of bad luck. But strings of bad luck have made great prospects into busts before.
Yep.
So I felt like it's a question that could be posed at the very least.
It's definitely a great question. Because it gets you thinking, like, if he had help in the beginning of his career with the 49ers, would they have drafted Kaepernick, and would they have had to go to him when he was concussed, or would it be a different quarterback,
I don't think that's fair, because I don't think they expected Kaepernick to be Kaepernick when Kaepernick happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they meant for him to be a cheap backup who was serviceable in case Alex Smith got hurt. But I think they expected Alex Smith to be the guy, not like the Pat Mahomes case where they just saw the potential in this guy and they were just like, look, if he falls to us, we have to get him.
Right. Which is crazy to think that, like, he fell to the Chiefs. Because the Bears could have grabbed him. The Texans could have grabbed him. I think a couple other teams could have grabbed him.
But again, it's hard to... Like, no one really expected Pat Mahomes to be Pat Mahomes, except for the Chiefs, it feels like.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way you get rid of Alex Smith after the season he had.
Yeah.
Especially with Jim Harbaugh being a former quarterback himself.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just a run of bad luck for the guy, really.
But also, props to Alex Smith for being able to, like, understand when the Chiefs drafted Mahomes. Hey, listen, yeah, I get it. Like, I can still play. I might be towards the back half of my career, but I'm going to do you a solid and give you tips and advice and show you how to be an NFL quarterback and set up Mahomes for success.
And just Alex Smith just seems like an all-around good person. Like, it's not Pat Mahomes' fault that he got drafted where he was drafted.
No.
It's not Pat Mahomes' fault that he wants to be a starting quarterback, because everyone wants to be a starting quarterback. I want to be a starting quarterback. You want to be a starting quarterback. My mom wants to be a fucking starting quarterback.
Yo, your mom would be the meanest starting quarterback ever.
Oh yeah, we'll get into some stories from my mom at some point on this podcast, but my mom is the scariest bitch alive. I told y'all get a Buzz podcast from Chris. We're gonna get some hot takes today.
Hot take.
But yeah, just shout to Alex Smith, man. Just like, really, I will never not be rooting for Alex Smith. He could be 907 years old, never be able to play another down in the NFL in his life, and I'll just still be rooting for him to have a good life.
Yeah.
Just because he just seems like a great person.
Might have to buy an Alex Smith jersey after this.
No, I'm seriously considering it. I don't even have one of the new Jets jerseys yet. I have one of those like Walmart knockoff Sam Darnold jerseys.
Yeah.
That are licensed by the NFL, but like they don't look anything like the actual fucking jerseys.
Right.
But like, I don't think I even have a new one yet, just because there's no one I can really think is definitely going to be on the team in 5 years. But
well, I mean, if you want a pretty cool jersey, you could get a Frank Gore Jets jersey.
Yeah, that's crazy. Frank Gore signs a 1-year deal with the Jets. Do you know the money on that one, Devin?
Not off the top of my head. I haven't seen the exact numbers yet.
But that's a great. I need to look up the numbers, but that's a great pickup for them. It takes some of the pressure off Lev Bell, because I think McGuire. I'm actually not sure what his contract is right now, but I'm pretty sure he's still signed. I think he has a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's there yet. I think he's got raw talent.
I'm looking up the numbers right now.
Okay, you got it.
Getting there.
But yeah, just another seasoned veteran. He might not be quite what he was, but he will be able to take some of the pressure off Lev Bell at the very least.
Oh yeah, he's gonna, and if you try to tackle him, like he's gonna make you regret it. He can come in, get you a couple yards on a run and everything, and let Lev Bell get like a breather every now and then.
Yeah, and when I say he's not what he was, I'm not saying he hasn't been a serviceable running back in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has been. But he just, I don't think is the guy to have that starting role anymore. He's worked with Adam Gase before. He's someone Adam Gase actually liked, which is big.
I forgot that they were together.
Yeah, and Adam Gase doesn't like a lot of people. He doesn't really like Lev Bell, to be honest. But
for whatever reason, we will never know.
I just think he thinks they're paying him too much money. But I'm happy they so far have kept him in the offseason.
Yeah.
Because I really thought they were going to trade him.
That would have been, I feel like, the stupidest thing they could have done.
I mean, I understand you can get running backs for cheaper, but I think Lev Bell is just a generational talent. And now that they focused on the offensive line a little more, they will be able to utilize Lev Bell in the way Lev Bell should be used, because Lev Bell has never been the super speed guy or the super aggression guy. His biggest key is his patience. Yep. Just sitting behind the line, letting what unfolds, and then making his decision from there.
Yep. And making you regret that you try to tackle him. I feel like both him and Frank Gore run with the same velocity, same passion, and their whole mindset is, you're going to hit me, I'm going to hit you just as hard.
And not to mention the athleticism on Lev Bell, but
yeah.
So I think that's really good for them, and I think with the new offensive line moves that they've been making, I really like the Mekhi Becton picked up. I think just a guy that big just can't go wrong. I think,
dude, that size, you can't teach that.
I think Sam, I think Lev, and I think Frank are going to have, at the very least, better years than they did last year, because they finally added at least some depth to that O-line. Even if it's not super great talent, it's a line that can be serviceable throughout the whole game.
Yep.
Because if you notice last year, in the beginning of games, their line was fine when the starters were fresh and they weren't needing to cycle out as much. They were doing well, but as the game wore on, just you couldn't keep anyone off Sam.
Right. And let's be real, like half the game is protecting Sam Darnold and give him time to find the open man. And if they can also clear a hole, Lev Bell and Frank Gore will do the rest.
And Sam hasn't completed a full season yet. I mean, last year, it was different because he got sick or whatever. Mono from getting with Josh McCown's daughter. What?
I told that boy to stop hanging around them colleges.
I mean, hey, he's a young 20-year-old guy. If you ain't getting mono, he's a young 20-year-old guy with millions of dollars and famous as fuck in one of the biggest football markets out there. If you ain't getting mono, you ain't living life. Like, come on. So good for Sam on the mono. Anyway, I hope it's a great year for them.
Now that's behind him.
Yeah. I think Joe Douglas is doing a great job. Let's move on a little bit. We got Andy Dalton signs with Dallas. Fucking biggest shocker of the offseason for me so far.
Red Rocket and Big D.
And the fact he went from supposed to be making $17 million this year to $3 million. I mean, he's gonna get some cap money from the Bengals, but still.
Talk about taking a pay cut.
But if he plays, he can get up to $7, which is good for him.
Mm-hmm.
but there's obviously still Dak Prescott in the picture, which is obviously, in my opinion, a power play by Jerry Jones to be like, hey, we got a quarterback. Sign. Or don't. I don't give a fuck. We're going through the season.
You saw what Andy Dalton did in Cincinnati. He was a
with
serviceable
no
quarterback.
weapons.
Right. He led them to a couple playoffs. You put him behind a solid offensive line with Zeke Elliott, Amari Cooper on one side, Gallup on the other, and CeeDee Lamb in the slot. If Dak doesn't want to play, like...
I forgot they picked up CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, dude.
Remember, when he's catching footballs, he's also taking his phone away from his girl without even looking. But, like, Jerry Jones is definitely sending a message to Dak and telling him that, hey, you can sit out all you want. We'll still be in good shape.
And I think they will be, even if Dak doesn't sign, which I expect him to.
Mm-hmm.
Or he could pull a Lev Bell. I mean, it worked for Lev. He got paid.
He got his money.
So, happy for Andy. Even though, like, we've been a little critical of him on this show and, like, joked around, like, he seems like a good guy. Like, I'm happy he at least landed on his feet. And he's not the worst quarterback in the world.
No. And being a good guy, he also, like, donated money to COVID research in, like, Cincinnati. So, tip my hat off to you, Mr. Dalton.
I can't actually take it off because I have headphones on. I tried. I honestly completely forgot I had the headphones on. But this does leave the burning question that Cam Newton is still unsigned.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if he signs late in the offseason with a team that suffers like a quarterback injury.
And his money is going down.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is running out of options. Jameis Winston got 1.1.
Jameis Winston is also betting on his future.
He thought he was getting like 30 million in this offseason. 25, somewhere around there.
Right. And then Tom Brady took that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably take part of me would say I want to take Tom Brady because from his reputation, he's just a guy who will hold everyone else accountable just as much as he holds himself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always good for an organization. But Winston also has youth on his side.
Yeah. He's only been in the league, 5 years?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, so, I mean, his future could be bright. You know, study under Sean Payton and Drew Brees, learn some things, and then go somewhere else and bet on himself and ball out.
Where do you think Cam Newton lands?
Ooh. Wherever he goes, as of right now, Cinco de Mayo 2020, it will not be a starting gig. If he signs, it's going to have to be a backup unless someone gets injured.
I think the Bengals are still open. I called that much earlier in the year.
Yep.
And then the only other option I can really think of is the Patriots.
But does he fit the Patriots way or the Patriots style play?
You don't know what Belichick and his coordinators could do because you've only ever seen them have to really deal with Tom Brady. Yeah, you had Bledsoe in the early years, but he was a little more Brady style, not the most athletic, like kind of like a game manager type. Yeah. Maybe not Brady level, but that sphere of quarterbacks, they had an idea of what to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But Brady at the same time, I mean, Belichick at the same time could have more ideas for things like that. He's just never had to utilize it. You know what I mean?
True.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
But yeah, interesting. I'm gonna be interested to see where Cam goes.
I think everyone is.
He's definitely got plenty of good football left in him.
I think the dude's only 29 or 30. Like, he's still fairly young.
He has been banged up though, but I still believe he does.
Yeah.
Any more football we got to touch on, Dev?
I think that's all the important stuff. I mean, I'm still waiting to hear if I get picked up as an undrafted free agent, but hey, teams, my phone is always on. Call me.
I mean, I don't know how they feel about bringing in a 31-year-old man who's
on the plus side. I don't have any injuries, and I have a lot less miles than a lot of these other dudes.
That is a fair point. I'll give that one to you.
Only got one.
All right, so moving on. On to fighting. UFC finalizes its May 13th and 16th cards.
Let's go.
And they look like, honestly, in my opinion, very solid fight night cards. It's obviously not going to be the May 9th card. I don't think there's any card I've ever seen that's as good as this May 9th card.
Yeah.
But they did some real good stuff. The May 13th card, headlined by Anthony Smith, Glover Teixeira. We've talked about this one a little bit. Glover really needing to get a win to keep himself in the mix. Anthony Smith, coming off a win of Alexander Gustafsson, also coming off a win against some random guy in his house. I really think he just has all the momentum, and he gave John Jones a run for his money. Like, I know John pretty much took that fight hands down. Like, it was not close like the Thiago Santos fight or anything like that, but he held his own in there. He made it a fight, even if John was winning it most of the time. Co-main event, Ben Rothwell, Ovince St. Preux. Again, great fight. I still think it's weird that they're giving Ovince St. Preux such a large person in Ben Rothwell for his first time at heavyweight. But it's a good name. It's someone people are familiar with in the heavyweight division, so that works well for him. And I really think Ovince St. Preux is a guy that is slept on.
Mm-hmm.
He's taken some hard losses, but I really think he's a good guy. Just look at how he fought John Jones. Then we got Alexander Hernandez, Drew Dober. Alexander Hernandez has been out for a little bit. I think he's riding a 2-fight losing streak.
Okay.
I think. I can't remember. But yeah, it should be a good fight. Carl Robertson, Marvin Vittori. Honestly, don't know much about that one. Then Ricky Simone, Ray Borg to open it up. Ricky Simone coming off a loss to Uriah Faber that no one expected. I sure as hell didn't. Uriah looked great in that fight, but Simone's been coming up looking like a killer. Then you got Ray Borg, who, until his fight with Demetrius Johnson, was looking like a real problem in that division. And just with everything he went through with his son, I don't remember the exact like what exactly he was dealing with. I think it was something with his brain, but just having to go through all that, like, I'm really rooting for the guy. Sorry.
With a lot of fighters, I was reading that a lot of fighters have been jumping weight classes or cutting down to fight in different weight classes than they typically would with everything that's going on. Do you think that's going to affect a lot of them, or do you think that they're just going to be like, it's no problem, I still got this?
I think it depends on the person. I think a lot of people actually aren't. The only one really on this card doing that is Ovince St. Preux.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is a permanent move or just a fight, and it was just like the guy that was available. A lot of people have been trying to do it, but Dana White said, "Look, I'd rather do it in your division, whichever division you're going to pick. Like, you can switch a division if you feel like it, but I'd rather it be like, he's not interested in doing like catch weight fights right now. He wants it to be in a division." I'm interested to see how it's going to affect Ovince St. Preux, because Ben Rothwell is like a 6'7", like, he's a monster.
Okay.
He's one of the guys who has to like watch himself to make the heavyweight limit. and that's not a lot of people.
Damn.
So I'm interested to see how the weight difference is gonna affect it. Even though Owens isn't a small guy, and if he packs on a little more muscle, I think he could do well in the heavyweight division.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a big bump up in size going from where he was to where he is now with Ben Rothwell, in my opinion. But yes, so the May 13th card looking pretty good. Like I said, it's a great fight night card, in my opinion. The same with the May 16th card. I'll start from the bottom on this one. We'll go first. It's Song Yudong versus Marlon Vera. Again, don't know super much about either of those guys, but it should be an interesting fight. We got Eric Anders versus Krzysztof Jotko, which I think is a real sleeper on this card. Eric Anders is just scary, former NCAA football player. I think he made it to. I think he might have had like a cup of tea with the team, but But just a very athletic guy. And Krzysztof Jotko is a killer too. That should be a fun fight. Dan Ige versus Edson Barboza. I feel like Edson Barboza is always a fun fight, and you can always just sit there and at least hope that he's gonna Terry Adam someone again when he's spinning wheel kicked his fucking face off. So those are always very fun to watch. Claudia Gadelha versus Angela Hill, great fight. Claudia's been on the slide down recently, where Angela's on the come up. After she had a rough start in the UFC, and she's really been putting it together, in my opinion. I think if we see real Claudia Gadelha, I think Claudia has the skills to beat Angela Hill.
Mm-hmm.
But Angela Hill has been coming up, man. Like, she's not a joke. So I think that's going to be a fun fight. And then Alistair Overeem versus Walt Harris, which is one of those kind of fights for me that I don't like. It kind of hurts me to see someone lose.
Yeah.
Overeem's just been doing it for years, and he's just been thrown in against killers recently. He had to deal with Francis. He had to deal with Curtis Blades. He had to deal with Rosenstruik. Just all of the up-and-coming killers. And the Ngannou knockout was probably the scariest knockout I've ever seen. Curtis Blades exploded his whole forehead. And Rosenstruik just fucking ripped a whole chunk of his face off.
Right.
And then they're giving him another young killer in Walt Harris, who's on the come up. And so part of me wants to see Overeem win because he needs this one. But at the same time, Walt Harris, if you don't know Walt Harris, his daughter ended up being kidnapped and murdered.
I remember this story.
Yeah, I think it was a few months ago.
Yeah.
And just, I'm not a parent. I have no idea what it's like to lose a child or even have a child. So I could not even fathom what this guy has gone through in the past few months.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to see him win. Like, you can't not want to see him win, even though he's been talking spicy about some other fighters on Instagram or whatever, or Twitter, whatever it was, saying that like people like Paige Van Zandt or Rachel Ostovich are only still fighting because they're hot. Ooh. And as he said, look good in a bikini and not real fighters.
That is not a good look. But you know what? I don't know if I could give him a pass for those comments.
Right? It's hard because, to be honest with you, Rachel Ostovich has not looked good her last couple fights. Paige, I think, has done better, but I think the reason people dislike her so much is because she got that push from the UFC, where people who they thought were more skilled necessarily didn't. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but I think Paige deserves to be there. I think Paige, she's been wrestling this broken arm issue for a couple years now, but because like her broken arm wouldn't heal.
Yeah.
But I think she, maybe not for the push the UFC gave her, but I think she deserves to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, still with everything, even though those comments are pretty shitty, like after going through everything, you just kind of want to see
he gets a win.
Yeah, just some sort of goodness happens to him. Like if anyone deserves it, it's that guy, even if he's talking spicy. But
he could get to win this fight, but next fight he gets his ass kicked. How about that?
Sounds fair to me.
Okay.
All right. Well, keeping it on fighting, the man, the myth, the legend, the ear connoisseur, Mike Tyson has been training
Iron Mike
to take fights and not come out of retirement in the professional level. He's not trying to fight Deontay Wilder right now. He's not trying to fight Tyson Fury right now. He's not trying to fight Anthony Joshua right now. He's coming out saying he wants to do like a couple 3-4 round exhibition fights for charity or whatever. But if you see his video, man,
yo, it looks like he has not missed a step.
He looks good for a 23-year-old fighter, and the man is fucking 53.
Yeah, like he's been out of the game for I think about 10, 15 years now, actually. And it's looking like he's still got the speed, still got the power to knock you out. It looks like he has not missed a beat at all.
It was actually scary for me. Like, usually I'm against, like, this type of stuff. Like, when Chuck Liddell came out to fight Tito Ortiz, yeah, I wanted to see Tito Ortiz get his face fucked up, but I knew that wasn't going to happen because Chuck was too old and his body had been through a lot. I'm not saying that Tyson's hasn't, but I don't know, man. After seeing that, I'm okay with the idea of him doing it. And I feel like if you're going to do it, he's doing it the right way. A lot of these guys try to come out and be like, yep, I'm going to be a professional boxer again. I'm going to take a professional boxing fight and get starched by these young killers who just have that extra step. Not only do I think that some of these guys don't have that extra step on Tyson, some of them do. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not coming out of it trying to be the world champion again. He's just coming out of it trying to do some exhibition fights, have a little fun, fight guys,
raise some money for charity,
fight guys who are solid matchups for him at this point in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to be doing it more for the love of boxing than anything else. Like, he doesn't need the money. For people who don't know, he is a fucking marijuana bajillionaire.
Yeah, he went hard in investing in the marijuana business, and hey, he got in at the right time, and now he's just sitting back, enjoying that success, and hanging out with Tigers and the Hangover crew.
And that tiger from The Hangover was apparently from that Doc Ankle guy, or Doc Antle guy.
Shit. Was it really?
I think so. I think that was one of the movies he named.
Of course it was.
Fucking, that's crazy. But, yeah, as far as the people I've seen who have tried to make these comebacks later in life, I think he's going about it the best way he possibly could.
Yeah. He knows his limitations, and he's not, like you said, trying to become a prize fighter right now and think, hey, I still got it. I could go 12 rounds. He knows, he's only good for 3, 4, maybe 5 rounds at most. And he's going to go out there, raise some money for charity, like he says, and have some fun with it.
All right. We'll finish up with that. Just a little breaking news that just came across. Quincy Enunwa, receiver for the Jets, been struggling with a neck injury for a couple of years, has officially been added to the PUP list for 2020. Will miss the entire season.
Damn.
I feel like this has become kind of a trend with him. Like, and I feel bad because I know it's just the neck injury that seems to have been hampering him. Because while I don't think he's a number one receiver, I think he's a good in the wide receiver mix.
Mm-hmm.
But just hate to see that he's still struggling with it.
Yeah.
And this might have been a strategic thing because of everything going on in the world. They don't know if they're having a full season. They don't know exactly who's doing what or where. That it's probably a smart decision for him to be like, you know what, if I'm not 100%, let's just
sit down, try to get right. And at the end of the day, yeah, I'm sure he would love to be out there playing football, but this is a neck injury. This is serious, life-altering risk that he has. You know, if he takes one bad hit, he could be paralyzed, and then you're just a shell of yourself in a sense, and you're struggling.
Yeah. So, yeah, but just touching on that real quick. Sad to see it, but understandable.
He was good when he was healthy. He was solid. Like, you put him in a good receiving core, he's a good number 2.
Right, I agree. Especially with Jamison Crowder out of the slot and Denzel Mims now coming in the mix. Like, it could have been good for him, but is what it is now, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
going back to Mike Tyson.
I don't think there's anything really left to say on Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson just still looks like a killer to this day. You've seen little things of it here or there. Like there's a video of him coming out showing like a little like pop, like it's kind of like a hook slide into another hook, like off center line. And he was looking good there. Like I was really impressed when he was showing him that. But those were smaller bursts. But then you just see him hitting the mitts, man. And it might be different when he goes live, or you know what I mean. Like we'll have to see. I don't think so with Mike Tyson. He's been there so much, but
right,
you never know.
Right.
But yeah, I'm actually pretty excited to see it happen.
I would pay money to see that.
With how it looks right now, I'm actually very excited to see it happen. But I think that brings us to, and Devin, once again, I will let you take over because you're better at this than me. It brings us to the last dance. Basketball is Devin's little...
my wheelhouse.
Yeah, his wheelhouse. So I'm going to let you take over on this one, Dev.
So I'm pretty sure everyone by now has seen episodes 5 and 6. But holy crap. Michael Jordan's competitive is something unreal that I personally have never seen before. Could honestly say that I think Kobe might be the only player that has been able to compete on that level, in the sense that they're going to make you work, and say one thing bad about them, they will hold that, and the next time they meet you, they're taking you down. They're going to drop 40 points, 50 points, maybe even 60 if they feel like it.
That's what I think is the thing about Jordan. I think he finds a way to put that chip on his shoulder no matter how well he's doing.
Yeah. Well, look at what happened when he was with the Dream Team in '92. The Bulls had drafted Toni Kukoc out of Croatia 2 years before.
So dirty.
Yeah. And because of everything that was going on back then, Kukoc was like, hey, I'm going to stay here, be close to the fam, under these untroubling times. But '92, being that he was a Jerry Krause pick, and the Bulls kind of looked at him as the future, Michael and Scotty were like, yo, save him for us. And just
specifically because he was a Jerry Krause pick.
Yeah.
Specifically because he was a Jerry Krause pick.
And this is before they even knew each other. just knowing that, hey, Jerry Krause likes you so much. I hate Jerry Krause. I'm going to just destroy you and make Krause look like a fool.
Him and Pippen.
Yeah. And then, hey, he joins the Bulls, and apparently they all love each other and they're good friends and helps them win a couple championships. But
well, they even said after he got just handled in the first game, when he came back, even though he didn't win, but he came back hard. He came back with everything he had, and he forced himself to have a good game. The second game, Pippen and Jordan were like, you know what? Respect. Like, you got that dog in you. You know what I mean?
But I love the fact that as a Knicks fan, it pains me to bring this up. Back in '93, with the Knicks up 1-0 or 2-0, I believe it was. Jordan had took the trip down to Atlantic City just to blow off some steam. Relax, decompress. Did nothing wrong. Violated no team rules. Everything was like on the up and up. Didn't have such a great game. So the media is like, yo, what's going on with Jordan? Does he have, a gambling problem? Is he like, what's he doing? How could he be doing this? He's hurting the team. Jordan comes back.
But you also have to preface it with the fact that he had been caught up in that Slim Guys thing where it came out that he lost $41,000 to him gambling or something like that. $51,000, something like that.
True. 57 for splitting nickels and dimes here. But yeah,
what's
and then
$6,000 between friends.
I mean, when you're Michael, that's like a quarter in your pocket. But the fact that he came back and won 4 games and destroyed the Knicks to go on to play the Suns, and then at the same time was just like, hey, I'm not going to talk to the media, forget you guys. That for me was just like, wow, he truly does not forget and let things go.
He's one of the guys that I kind of understand why he hated the media so much. Because you saw it. He could not leave his house without being hounded. And this is before the time of the internet and all that stuff. So if you wanted a shot of a celebrity, you had to go get it.
Right.
No one's going to just whip out their phone and be like, oh, he's here. You can't count on that. You know what I mean? So they had people literally stalk these people 24/7. And they still do that to some extent, but I feel like it's lessened. If they know you're at a club or they know you're there, will they go up and set people up outside?
Definitely.
Sure. Will they set people up outside your house if there's a big story? Sure. But
are they going to be on top of your every single move?
They don't really need.
Maybe not.
Depending on what you're doing at the time, they don't really need to.
Yeah.
Like they did back in the day anyway.
I kind of like Charles Barkley's comments back when he was in the early 90s, when he was just like, hey, I'm not a role model. Your kids should not look up to me. I'm kind of an asshole. I'm competitive. I should not be the face of the league. I should not be a role model for these kids. And Michael Jordan, unfortunately, he didn't have that option. Everyone looked at him and was, hey, I want to be like Mike. Gotta get your shoes, gotta rock the 2-3, gotta stick my tongue out when I play basketball, gotta shave my head. Yeah, do the shrug. Be like, hey, I can't help it. I'm killing these guys. And unfortunately, I understand why Mike took that first retirement as well, because I could not imagine being in the spotlight and having my every single move scrutinized like that.
I mean, if you don't believe the gambling rumors.
Alleged.
Which let's talk about that, because I think the only reason, and I think Jordan said it himself, I think the only reason Jordan doesn't quote unquote have a gambling problem is because he has the money to have a gambling problem.
Yeah.
Some of the things you hear him say, the way you hear him justify his gambling, it sounds like every addict I've ever heard in my life.
Oh yeah. Going up when going back to the '92 Dream Team, him, Magic Johnson, Scottie Pippen, I think Charles Barkley, staying up late playing cards, and it didn't matter if Michael lost all the money on whatever hand. He'd be like, "All right, what I lose? 10,000? Here's 20,000 to buy back in," and he's going to do everything in his power to buy you out.
Yeah, just eventually he's going to win, just because he has so much money that eventually you're going to go all in and not have the highest hand.
Yep. Even the story of him on the plane playing with like Scotty, Ron Harper, and someone else playing cards back there for like 10,000 a hand, whatever it was. And you have, I think it was John Paxton, Steve Kerr, I think, don't quote me on those players, playing blackjack for like $1 a hand. And Michael just coming up and be like, "Hey, let me play with y'all." And them looking up being like, "Why? You know, we're only playing $1 a hand. We're having fun." And Michael just being like, "Because I want to be able to say I have your money in my pocket."
I think when he says he has a competitive problem, I think, like, I understand where he's coming from, and I think I kind of agree with him, but just the fact that he's so competitive gets him into trouble with things like gambling.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much mutually exclusive, I guess.
Yeah, they do go. I would say there's a little bit that does go hand in hand with the competitiveness and the gambling.
But I will say for Jordan that at the very least, with, like, if you do consider this an addiction, which I kind of do, how do I put this? He's not hurting anyone else.
Right.
You've never seen a situation where he's freaking out because he lost all this money and beat someone up and blah, 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 blah. He's just like, all right, I lost it. I'll win it back next time. Yeah. Like, it might dig at him that he lost because he hates losing, but he's not providing for his family. He's not fighting people in the streets over a gambling debt. So at the very least, if it's an addiction, it's his addiction. You know what I mean? And he's handling it.
Yep.
But it gives you, again, more of an idea into just the mind of this guy. Why he had, like, it's a little selfish. It's a little, like, there are negative aspects to it, but it's just the only way you can be that great.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that he's going away from necessarily the documentary, just real life. I like that he's kind of turned that competitiveness into, in the past few years, like, charitable things. Like, he wasn't known to really be doing that. But I feel like he's now using that competitive nature to be like, all right, LeBron gave fucking 50,000, I'm giving 55. Fuck you.
Right.
Like
I'm still going to one-up you, but I'm going to do it in a charitable way.
In a way that will help people. And I think he's kind of turned his competitive drive towards that, which is really nice to see.
Yeah. And I feel like you see that, but not as much from, like, other athletes willing to, like, go out there and be like, you know what? I'm going to top them. I'm going to donate a little bit more to help out this cause that I truly believe in.
Yeah. This documentary has really just sucked me in. I'm ready for every Sunday.
Yep.
Every single one.
I honestly cannot wait to see, like, 7 and 8. Like, I'm almost sad that it's only 4 episodes left.
I feel like I could rewatch these a bunch of times because I've rewatched them a couple times, and every time I pick up a little detail that I didn't get the first time. And it's just such an unprecedented access to these people, because it's not only did Jordan have the cameras in moment that he hasn't released for all these years, but you also get him reacting as more of an adult now.
Mm-hmm.
To the same types of things. And he might feel the exact same way, because he just seemed like a guy that once he gets something in his head, that's how it is.
Yeah.
He still doesn't like Patrick Ewing. He still didn't really like Jerry Crouch. He still does not like fucking Isaiah Thomas.
Right. There's respect among them, but does not like them. I will say, though, I love the Nike story of how I didn't realize back in the 80s, Nike was like this little upstart track company, and the top dogs were Converse and Adidas. And Michael's agent was like, hey, I'm going to pitch Nike to you. And Michael was just like, no, I don't want to go to Nike. And his agent's like, trust me, like Nike's a good, like this will be a good place for you.
And then got his mom to convince him.
Right. Good old Mama Jordan, coming in and be like, hey, listen, you got to hear them out. I don't care if you don't like it. You have to hear them out. Goes, hears them out. 250,000 and his own shoe line. And then the birth of Jordans everywhere.
Projected to sell $3 million in his first 4 years. Sells like $123 million in the first year.
Blew that right out the water.
I'm not gonna lie, this show, like, I usually don't like older shoes like that, those high tops anymore, but I really want some Jordan 1s. I know I will never get them. I know I will never be able to afford them, but I really want some Jordan 1s.
They are so nice. Like, I'm not a huge sneakerhead, but damn, those are some nice sneakers.
Oh, Jordans. Let's talk about some Jordans.
I'm not going to scare the people with my shoes because I'm wearing sandals right now.
I didn't even do this intentionally. I just threw on my Jordans. All right. Anything else you got for us, Dev?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's about it for us today, guys. Good show, good conversation. I think me and Dev are some good people. Should be fun.
I hope so. Otherwise, this is awkward.
Also, give a shout to the man Dev. Just got the big promotion. He's the big boss man now.
I'm not one to brag, like Kendrick says, stay humble, but I do appreciate it, finally got some recognition.
He's basically getting paid to do the same ass job he's been doing because everyone asks him what the hell they need to be doing. So he's finally getting paid for it.
Because no one knows how to do the goddamn job.
All right. So shout to Dev. Congrats on all your success. We love you. And we are the Basement Boys.
Yeah.
See ya.
Deuces.